It's another edition of Time About the Movies, and today we're taking a look at the films of November 1st, 1996. We got 7 movies to look at today, so let's not waste any more time. Let's just jump right on into it. And we'll start off with the biggest new release of the weekend, Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes in Baz Luhrmann's adaptation of William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet.
Till now, forswear its sight. In fair Verona, where we lay our scene, 2 households, both alike in dignity.
Throw your mischievous weapons to the ground!
From forth the fatal loins of these 2 foes, where civil blood makes civil hands unclean, a pair of star-crossed lovers take their life. Who is it that you love?
Gentle Romeo, if thou dost love, pronounce faithfully.
My heart's dear love is set on the fair daughter of rich Capulet.
Romeo! Thou art a villain! Turn and draw! Turn and draw! Romeo's no civil! Romeo must not live!
My only love sprung from my only hate.
Romeo is banished!
City, they will murder thee.
Let them find me here. Leonardo DiCaprio, Claire Danes, in William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet.
Good night. Good night.
So the idea of Romeo and Juliet being modernized for a new generation is not a crazy idea. It's not something new or unique or interesting. It's been done before. I mean, West Side Story is one of the biggest examples of that. China Girl. We've talked about several movies leading up to this, talking about the different ways they've adapted Romeo and Juliet for the modern times. So why does this one stand out the most? Well, I think mostly because of its director, Baz Luhrmann. This is one of the films that kind of pushed him into more of a well-known director. He had been already known as an established director thanks to his work with Strictly Ballroom 4 years prior, but this was the film that really got people into the world of Baz Luhrmann, to get the recognition that he would eventually become known for. And I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed this movie. I would like him as a director, but I've only liked a couple of movies he's made. I mean, I've not been the biggest fan of stuff like what was the one I didn't like? Australia, which I thought started off strong, but the second half kind of really tapered off. I really did not like Elvis. I know a lot of people did, but I really did not like that one. But I like Moulin Rouge. I like The Great Gatsby, too. And I really like this one, too. I like the different take it takes on Romeo and Juliet. I mean, like I said, it's not a new idea. Taking the story and putting it in modern times, but the way they do it here, the way they kind of stylize it with the visuals and the way it's presented, I think it works really well here, and it's helped by having a strong cast on here. Like, not only Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes, but you have Brian Dennehy, Rachel's mom from Friends, Christina Pickles from Say It Elsewhere, Dash Mahook, Jesse Bradford, Jamie Kennedy, Paul Sorvino, Diane Verona, John Leguizamo, Miriam Margolyes, Harold Perrineau, Pete Postlethwaite, Paul Rudd, Vaughn Curtis Hall, M. Emmett Walsh. I mean, this is a strong cast, and they do a phenomenal job working with this material here. And you really do buy into the chemistry between Romeo and Juliet in here. Like, that's kind of the purpose of the story. Like, you're supposed to follow their relationship, and you're supposed to get invested in their relationship. But we know it's going to end tragically, and yes, it does end tragically. Like, it doesn't pull a happy ending out of its ass. It just gives you the straight, honest truth about what happens in the story. And yeah, it's stuff you've seen before, but the way it's presented here, I have to give them credit for the way they handled this story. It's a very unique twist on the story. It's very unusual. It's very impressive how they did it. It's a really amazing film. Like, I was really surprised at how much I enjoyed this movie a whole lot. I thought maybe I'd like it for nostalgic sakes, but I think it is overall a really solid adaptation of the story. It's like it plays well for the MTV generation, but at the same time, it presents a new, unique twist on the story that is real. Yeah, we've seen it done before, but the way it's presented here, it works because of the actors' commitment to the roles here. Like, everybody in here does a really fantastic job in this movie. I mean, I can't recommend this one enough. If you love Baz Luhrmann's work, it's kind of recommended to watch Romeo and Juliet. And I think you watch it, and you will see why these people, some of the younger actors in here, went on to become the great actors that we know them for today. I mean, what more can I say? William Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, a pretty damn good movie. So with that said, on to the next movie, and that is Bill Murray in Larger Than Life.
Oh, no. When Bill inherited Vera,
I got an apartment with no pet clause.
he didn't want to take her home.
Okay, honey, where's the stairs? Yes, sir! Yes, sir!
And the last thing she wanted
Don't get down, go!
was a driver with an attitude.
Get away from there! That's cold!
But along the way,
Our church is falling down.
Is there anything you can do?
a miracle happened. Larger Than Life.
You're gonna leave a ring around this place!
Rated PG. Starts Friday.
Okay, before I start trashing this movie, because, needless to say, this movie definitely deserves the trashing that it deserves, but I thought this was pretty interesting story. The elephant in this movie is not only the same elephant from last year's Operation Dumbo Drop, but he's also the same elephant that was later seen 15 years later in Water for Elephants. And this elephant lived to be 52 or 53 years old, and evidently I had no idea that elephants could live that long. I mean, I guess they could, honestly, but I just really never did the whole research or really got fully invested in that type of a thing to really know for certain how long an elephant actually lives. Actually, I'm kind of curious now how long an elephant usually lives. Okay, it varies here. It says the African bush elephant and the African forest elephant live the longest, between 60 and 70 years, while Asian elephants can be up to 48 years old. And I think this is an Asian elephant too, so it lived a couple of years after how it usually would last after the time it would usually be around for. But I thought that was a pretty interesting thing to talk about, because the rest of the movie is not very good. I mean, this is probably the worst thing Bill Murray has ever attached himself to, and he attached himself to some pretty bad movies around this time period. I mean, wait till we get to The Man Who Knew Too Little the following year, but man, this just doesn't work very well here, and I think it's because Bill Murray's not really putting his all into it, honestly. And can you blame him? This is not a very good script whatsoever. It's basically the equivalent of Turner and Hooch, except that Hooch is now an elephant instead of a dog, and Turner is no longer Tom Hanks, it's Bill Murray. I mean, it's pretty much that same kind of concept here, and the jokes just aren't funny. They aren't sticking. They're not really clever. You can see which ones are coming a mile away. Oh, this thing's too big, it's going to destroy stuff, and it does. Yeah, bottom line, this is just not a very good movie. It's just a film that you can see coming a mile away. You can predict all the jokes that they're going to do. It's nothing clever, it's nothing intriguing, it's nothing exciting. It's just a waste of time, and Bill Murray deserves a lot better than this. But then again, like I said, he was picking some really bad movies at the time, so, yeah, not much more to say about that one. That's Larger Than Life. So let's go ahead and take a look at our next movie, and that is Greg Kinnear in Dear God.
There was a horrible fire at the San Diego Youth Center. I had to pull a couple of kids out with my bare hands. They're fine, but now how am I supposed to catch a cab to the Burn Center?
Him, Papa.
9-6. Oh, yeah. It's like 30 miles. Oh, sure. Oh.
In the city of Los Angeles, it was business as usual.
Oh, God, sister. Give me your address. I swear I'll send you a check.
And no one took advantage of it.
Does anybody buy your BS?
Like Tom Turner.
Big Pop, the priest. It's the toys for the orphans. How much money did you spend? I don't know exactly. My salary.
God bless you.
God bless you. I got the skills to pay the bills. LAPD, Merry Christmas, pal.
Now he's about to be sentenced.
You, sir, have 1 week to find a job. A real job. 9 to 5, 5 days a week for a year.
9 to 5, Your Honor, that seems a bit excessive.
To the job from hell.
This is your new home.
Dead letter office. All these letters are undeliverable, unreturnable.
With co-workers
Don't nod at me on your first day. I gotta get to know you.
from another planet.
The eagle has landed!
Did you really bite a dog?
Just in the knee.
This is addressed to Mr. God. Superman, Elvis, the Easter Bunny, and God.
And a mission.
Dear God, we still don't have running water or hallway lights.
And what began as a request
What do you say, Tom? Are you in?
All right, we do one.
became a mission
Oh.
that was nothing less than miraculous.
All right. Our lesson of getting to God.
My little girl will be 9 next week, and all she wants is to ride a horse.
Crowds are beginning to gather, hoping for some sign of a miracle in their lives.
I feel my life is meaningless to everyone.
Mayday, mayday.
Paramount Pictures presents
Big running crowd. Oh, I got you.
Regular people are doing miracles, and you started it.
You know, when you care, you're kind of rewarded for doing it.
Dear God,
Postal workers could use a better image.
Yeah, everybody thinks I'm gonna lose it and take people out with an AK-47. Crazy, huh?
God delivers.
So this is, of course, Greg Kinnear, still pretty early in his film career after the many years he had done it with Talk Soup and then later, and then he was trying to build his own film career after this. Like, he started off in movies like Sabrina, and this is probably one of his earlier films after Sabrina came out. And I gotta say, man, this movie is another one of those comedies that I think gets unfairly criticized for not being all that good. In fact, I've seen reviews compared to that terrible comedy Mixed Nuts with Steve Martin, Rita Wilson, and Adam Sandler, and I can tell you right now, this movie is nowhere near as bad as Mixed Nuts. Far from it. Its heart is in the right place, and it does have a very good premise to it. You've got a con man basically deciding to answer the letters, answering is addressed to God, and you know what? They don't go over preaching on it. They treat it as a simple comedy. This could have easily been one of those movies like A Collateral Beauty or 7 Pounds or Miracle from Heaven or Heaven is for Real. These uber preaching movies that are so Lifetime movie of the week that your gag reflex can't handle the wholesome goodness that they are trying to force on you. But this movie doesn't do that. It has a really good cast. I like Greg Kinnear a lot in this. You got Tim Conway in here, Larry Miller, Hector Elizondo, John Cena, Roscoe Lee Brown. They have a lot of great comedic timing they bring to the film. I think a lot of the jokes really work here. Director Gary Marshall does a good job on this as well. He brings his own comedic directing style to this film that works over the course of the film. It's probably close to the last good Gary Marshall movie I've seen before his death in 2016. And I'm not a fan of stuff like The Princess Diaries or Runaway Bride or hell, pretty much anything after 2004 for that matter. But Dear God is the last one I can remember that I like that Marshall directed. It is funny. It's got a good heart to it. It's got a good cast. And I say it's a decent little watch. It's got a lot of flaws to it, but it's still a very good movie. I'd highly recommend people go check it out because it's a lot better than I think people give it credit for. So that's Dear God. Let's go ahead and take a look at our next movie, and that is Bad Moon.
A house on the edge of the woods.
Out here it's safe and peaceful.
A family alone.
Mom,
Yes, sweetheart?
can you leave the door open a crack?
A favorite uncle who needed their help.
Things haven't been going so good for me since I got back, sis.
Come stay with us.
But when they invited him in,
Think I better keep my eye on you.
they let in something they could never imagine. Or ever escape.
What's wrong with you?
Bad Moon. It doesn't have to be Halloween to be this scary.
I mean, that's pretty much a cheap way to say, who cares if this comes out the day after Halloween? We could still put this out and we'll make you believe this is actually a good movie. And it's not. It's not a good movie. And what would you expect from the same director that gave us Body Parts, which had a cool concept to it, but bad execution overall? This is just bad altogether. I mean, this is a terrible movie. Mario Hemingway is not trying it at all. The scare factor here is not that good at all. The visuals are terrible in this. This has some really bad special effects, which, for a werewolf movie, you need the best damn special effects you can get to make this look incredible. I mean, American Werewolf in London, The Howling, those movies. But this is just terrible. It's not scary. It's not interesting. The characters are not that great. The story is the same thing we've seen done over and over again. Everybody in here makes stupid decisions. The scares are not there. It's a really bad movie. It's just a bad film that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. and it's just not a good movie. It's a real bore of a film, especially if you like werewolf movies. This has got to be one of the most boring werewolf movies you will ever see, and it's really hard to make a werewolf movie boring. But this movie sure as hell did that. So yeah, it's best to avoid bad mood like the plague. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, and that is Nick Nolte in Mother Night.
Oh, damn you! You're a dead liar! Tell me what you live for, and I will live for that too!
The moral here is, you must be careful what you pretend to be. Because in the end, you are what you pretend to be.
So this is based off of a Kurt Vonnegut novel of the same name. You've got Nick Nolte playing an American who's moved his family to Germany after World War I and goes on to become a successful German-language playwright. But as World War II looms, he meets a man who claims to be from the United States Department of War. He's recruited to spy for the U.S., transmitting Nazi propaganda containing hidden messages that can only be decoded by Allied intelligence. And after the war, he relocates to New York City, where he attempts to live in obscurity since the U.S. government keeps his true wartime role a closely guarded secret. He's forced to live under assumed identity, and it's narrated by Campbell through a series of flashbacks as he sits in this jail cell in Israel, writing his memoirs and awaiting trial for war crimes. I never read the book this is based off of. I never even saw this movie before, but I mean, it's got a pretty good cast to it. Nick Nolte, Cheryl Lee from Twin Peaks, John Goodman, Kirsten Dunst, Alan Arkin, Frankie Faison, Vonnegut himself even shows up in here. It's really all I know about this movie. I don't really know if it's any good or not. I've never read the book, like I said. I can't say if it's good or not, but the cast definitely has a lot of promise to it. I also find it interesting that the writer of this is also the main writer for Curb Your Enthusiasm, Robert B. Wide, which I'm sure there's no connection to that in this, but you never know, could be something. But yeah, I got nothing else for you on that one. That's Mother Night. So let's go ahead and take a look at the next film, and that is The Funeral.
From acclaimed director Abel Ferrara, America's most daring and controversial filmmaker.
I'm not asking for nothing, but my brother's killer, his motivation does not interest me.
Christopher Walken.
If I do something wrong, it's because God didn't give me the grace to do what's right.
Annabella Sciorra.
They're criminals, and there's nothing, absolutely nothing romantic about it.
Chris Penn.
Killed him. 22 years old, they killed him.
Isabella Rossellini.
You want to talk?
Benicio del Toro.
I had nothing to do with your brother's death.
And Vincent Gallo. Blood was their bond.
Killing somebody else is not going to bring him back.
Remember one thing, he's not your flesh and blood.
And the beginning of their end.
You can't be trusted, you are not trustworthy.
What would you have me do? Lie?
The Funeral.
Another movie by Abel Ferrara, the director of Bad Lieutenant. Don't really know much about this one because I never saw this one before, but you see the cast there. Christopher Walken, Chris Penn, Annabella Sciorra, Isabella Rossellini, Vincent Gallo, Benicio del Toro, Gretchen Mol. It concerns the funeral of one of the three brothers in a family of gangsters in 1930s New York. It depicts the past of the brothers and their families through a series of flashbacks. I get the feeling this was trying to be Abel Ferrara's attempt at trying to create a new Godfather. They were trying to do a lot of these around this time period. One of the more notable ones was Mario Puzo's The Last Dawn, which was a TV miniseries that aired on CBS, I think, around the same time period. But I don't know. It could be that, or it could not be that whatsoever. But I've never seen this movie, so I don't really know if it's any good or not. But the cast is pretty good enough. I mean, Abel Ferrara's a good director too, so there's a good chance that there might be something here. But as far as I know, there's nothing that I know about it right now because I haven't seen it. So. That's The Funeral. So let's go ahead and take a look at the last movie we have here, and that is Unhook The Stars.
Motherhood. Mildred Hawks has earned some time to herself. Her kids have moved on, and her house is peaceful and calm.
There are plenty of people who probably need this child.
But her life isn't going to be quiet for long. Now.
Hello. You don't know me, but I live across the street. Yes. 1044. My name is Warren. We're the Warrens.
The neighbors no one would want.
JJ's father's been unexpectedly called out of town. I'm sorry. Whatever. He's just out of town. He's gone. I need someone to look after JJ while I'm at work today.
Are becoming the friends she didn't know she needed.
I'm Mrs. Hawks. You and I are going to have a good time. Remember to ride on the sidewalk. When you get to a street, just get off your bike and walk it across.
I know.
I don't know if this was such a good idea.
Take a Valium.
And this friendship
Got us a babysitter on Saturday.
is going to take her places
You and me, sister, are going out.
she never thought she would go.
Guys, this is Mildred. This is my best friend. She's like a second mother to my Jane.
Another one I haven't seen before, but again, another movie that shows a lot of promise just from this cast alone. I mean, you got Jenna Rollins playing this woman who ends up befriending this woman played by Marissa Tomei, a single mother from across the street. She ends up being the babysitter of her son, played by Jake Lloyd. And a couple weeks prior to the role that kind of jumped him into superstardom with Jingle All the Way, was not really superstardom, but it got him. That movie Jingle All the Way did play a huge part of him getting the big movie that made him a superstar almost with The Phantom Menace. But we'll get to that point when we get there. But throughout the film, Monica and JJ inadvertently teach Mildred valuable life lessons about herself and her relationship with others. And like I said, I don't really know too much about this movie. It's directed by Nick Cassavetes, and of course, Jenna Rollins is his mother. It's actually the first movie Nick Cassavetes ever did. This was before John Q. This was before The Notebook. This was the first movie he ever directed, and it looks like it's a decent directorial effort. But other than that, though, I don't really know too much about this one to really say if it's any good or not. It's got some promise to it, but that's Unhook The Stars. So with that said, that wraps up another edition of Time About the Movies. Next time we meet, we'll take a look at 5 movies, including Mel Gibson starring in Ron Howard's Ransom, Set It Off, F. Gary Gray's follow-up to Friday, Hulk Hogan in the infamous Christmas comedy Santa with Muscles, also The Secret Agent, and Breathing Room. So 5 movies to look at overall. We'll delve into those on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching, and if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page, check out the previous episode, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode. So thank you very much for watching, I'll see you next time, and until then, as always, take care.